In the last presentation, we covered the nature of a claim, and we covered the 4 different types of claims, including some examples, and we noted what kinds of questions they ask. Now, let's talk about how we can isolate and show that where those claims begin and end, and in this way we analyze an argument, starting with isolating claims. Here is an example that comes from the They Say, I Say textbook in the piece by Andrew Hacker and Claudia Dreyfus. So it says here that we believe that everyone can do college work, so we believe that universal enrollment should be our nation's goal. Now let's analyze this and let's find out where the claims are, because there's more than one here. Here they are, one in red and the other in blue. Everyone can do college work, so we believe that universal enrollment should be our nation's goal. So everyone can do college work is the first claim. Universal enrollment should be our nation's goal is the second. So that we don't miss it, I've numbered each of these claims so it's easier to see where they begin and end. Now, we believe that everyone can do college work. What kind of claim is that? Everyone can do college work. We are saying it is the case that everyone can do college work. It's an answer to the question, can everyone do college work? Well, it should be pretty obvious that this is a fact claim. We are saying that this is the case, that everyone has the ability to do college work. So this is a claim of fact. The second example, universal enrollment should be our nation's goal. What should be our immediate tip-off is the word should. What should be done about X? That is a policy claim. So we have 2 different claims here, one separated from the other, one being a fact claim and one being a policy claim. So how do we analyze claims? What are the steps? Well, first of all, we identify the subject and a predicate. As we said, they have to assert things to be true. So if there is no subject or no predicate, or not both, together we have no assertion of anything to be true. Second, we need to determine which of these 2 subjects and predicates are propositional content and which is just what we call meta-discourse. This is just writing about writing, and I'll show what I mean in this example. We believe that is meta-discursive, and so is we believe that is also meta-discursive. It shows the attitude of the writer toward the subject, but the real material that we're talking about here is the propositional content that everyone can do college work, and the other propositional content that universal enrollment should be our nation's goal. We've quite easily shown that we believe that and we believe that really don't add anything to the substance of the argument. Now it tells us what they stand by, for sure, but it really isn't what we are trying to see whether it should be accepted or not. So we should focus third only on the propositional content. So that's why we want to separate one from the other. To analyze the claim, we should turn each claim into an answer to a question. So everyone can do college work, as we've already noted, answers the question, can everyone do college work? The answer is in the affirmative, yes. What should we do about that? They say we should see to it that everyone in the nation goes to college. So that's the question, what should be done about this alleged ability? So we identify each question and each type of question. So again, we've isolated that one is clearly a claim, a question dealing with a question of fact, and the other is dealing with the question of what should be done. And in that way, we are ready to invoke the relevant standards of truth and falsity. So let's just talk about number 7 for a moment. How would we be able to know whether it is the case that everyone can do college work? What test would we use to determine whether that claim is true or false? Well, we could, I suppose, we could interview every single person who is of college age and subject them to different tests. We could say, what is it that you were able to do? Provide them with some college work, and then give the same college work to every single person to see whether or not it can be done. Well, we're well on our way to doing that when we have so many people enrolled in college. Can they do it or can they not? Now, we also might ask ourselves, are we talking about, is it mere ability to, or is it also a willingness to? Is this a part of the ability to do college work, the motivation as well as the intellectual capability? But we also don't see that everybody does go to college. We don't see that everybody even tries college work, so it's hard to test. So we might have to be doing one of those questions of taking a good sample and seeing if it's possible. So we would have to isolate basically those who are motivated, I suppose, to do it. We would have to see whether they could pass certain tests or do certain assignments that they were given and pass them. And how do we know whether they can? After how long can we determine that they have this ability or not? Should we do it after one try, after several? Given what kinds of teaching and instruction and other kinds of things? So I think you get the idea. Now, the other one, policy, this is a little bit different. You can imagine how seeing whether somebody can do college work, that may be fairly straightforward, but the question is whether it's the case that we should seek universal enrollment, whether we should put everybody who's college age into college in our nation. Should we try to realize that? How would we know? Well, we would have to ask ourselves questions such as, well, what does our nation need to compete economically? What jobs are available and needing to be filled? What jobs are not in need of being filled? What jobs can be automated, which cannot, given our present circumstances? Which jobs will be automated and or outsourced, very likely, given the state of the economy, and all those kinds of big questions. But it basically has to do with what the nation needs and whether a college education would meet that need or not. Some may be thinking already, well, quite obviously there's a lot of jobs out there that can be filled adequately by people who do not even have a high school education, and those jobs are necessary, and therefore college would be an expense that's not justified by sheer economic need. If what we were considering was economic need, or are we considering economic need? Are we also considering the intellectual and cultural climate of the nation? If that's what we're considering, do we think that college education would meet the needs we have to make everybody as intellectually and culturally aware as possible? And would it help to have people with college educations filling jobs that they are overqualified for because they have a college education? So this would raise lots of different questions. So you can see how politics very easily comes in. After all, we are talking about policy claims, and the making of policy is the issue in the business of politics. So quite a lot to consider when we're just talking about analyzing claims. Now, you may have already come to a snap judgment about every one of those things, or both of those statements, right when you read them. However, I think if we slow down a little bit and we start to ask ourselves these questions, we'll begin to see how it is that rhetoricians who study argument very closely begin to look at these things, and how isolating and separating claims one from another is the beginning to think more deeply and more critically about the information we're asked to accept in the form of claims. In the next lecture, we'll be dealing with grounds for claims.